Hello everyone, this is Ponder on Weather. In this update, we've got a large storm system coming, bringing feet of snow and very heavy rainfall. So let's break things down for you so you can plan ahead and know what to expect. So taking a look at the overall setup for the next 7 days, we've got a ridge of high pressure that's really going to be building up here into Alaska. At the same time, we also have another ridge over the Aleutian Islands, and we have the coldest temperatures of the season building underneath in Canada. We have another trough coming in off the west coast, and then a southeast ridge is going to be developing. But in the middle, that's going to create a battle zone, and that could spell trouble in the form of very heavy rainfall over the course of the next 7 days. So I appreciate all my followers out there. If you are new to the channel and like detailed weather content on North America, all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and you're in. I do daily updates on this channel so you can plan ahead and know what to expect. And also make sure you smash the like button. It definitely helps more than you know. But taking a look at the overall snow cover pack well to the north, we've got a tremendous snow cover so early on in the season, so that's going to be pretty significant. Now the teleconnections have turned southbound. That's going to pull down that Arctic air, and it's got to traverse over that snowpack as well. So it's going to be having time to less modify that air mass. So each front is going to be able to get a little bit colder as it travels over this snowpack. So taking a look at the overall hazard index, we've multiple troughs coming in off the west. We're going to have some very heavy rainfall over the Sierra Nevadas. We're talking feet of snow could literally pile up over the next week. We have multiple winter storm warnings over the Rockies up here in Colorado, going through Utah, back into Wyoming, but very heavy winds as well with these systems coming across and bringing 40, 50, upwards to 60 mile per hour winds at times. We also have another storm system, another boundary that's going to be setting up across the north, back into Montana, back into portions of the Dakotas, as well as Minnesota, bringing several inches of snowfall for them. But overall, here's the temperature. So we're going to have that southwest ridge really building in from the south. We got some shallow cold air, and so it's going to be tricky. So the further south it goes, it's going to be that cold air is going to try to penetrate this southeast ridge, and at times it will kind of win out, as you can see some of these high temperatures later on today. But further to the north, it's all Arctic air really building, and these are high temperatures below zero, if not teens below zero, up here into Canada. So that's going to be the story, as we go throughout the week. Very cold air masses with multiple fronts going to be coming in from the south, and they're going to be battling this southeast ridge, just trying to bring back the warmer air. And we've got a fight going on, and within that fight zone, we could be looking at some very heavy rainfall. So here's the water vapor imagery as we go into getting into the weekend. This overall setup, we're going to watch these systems come across. We're going to be seeing these setups coming in from the west, bringing very heavy rain through California, but also set up a kind of a boundary through the middle of the country, and that could spell trouble with some very heavy rainfall in the week ahead. But take you back to today. So for today, here's the setup. So we've got sporadic showers and thunderstorms across portions of the southeast, a little bit lighter amounts as you swing up towards the Ohio Valley. But further to the north, there's that snow with those winter storm warnings taking place in Utah, back into Colorado, into Wyoming, back into the Dakotas here. But check out the beneficial rain really coming in off the west coast, especially into California. They need it in a big way, and they're going to get it. And very heavy snow is going to be falling in the Sierra Nevadas, and more snow just along the coastlines here as well, up here into portions of Washington and along the coast into Oregon. Going into tomorrow, we have another kind of weak frontal boundary that's going to pull through. So it's going to be fighting this southeast ridge every step of the way. But it should kind of stall out across portions of South Texas, swinging across the Tennessee Valley. To the right of there, that's where you're going to have your rain showers, and then kind of drier air is going to be filtering in on the backside. We could be looking at some kind of wet snowflakes into the afternoon hours, but definitely not accounting for much up here into portions of upstate New York and into New England. But where the snow is really going to be starting to pile up is out west, because we've got those successful troughs and cold fronts going to be coming in, bringing that reinforced shots of cooler air and rain. Look at that. I mean, how often do you see the entire state, almost the entire state of California, locked under at least some opportunities of rain? So this is very beneficial rains. You know, with these troughs, are going to be coming in off the west coast and bringing some mountain snows along with it as well. Going into a Saturday, Sunday time frame, we've kind of got the same deal. We've got multiple fronts. See these multiple fronts coming in off the west coast, adding to those rain totals. We'll be adding to those snow totals off into the Intermountain West here. There's the cold front. We'll finally push out and get through into our deep south regions. But as we go into kind of into Monday, going into Tuesday, here's the setup that's going to be unfolding as we get into next week. So we're going to have the initial stage of the ridge of high pressure is going to be locked under the south, bringing some rain showers in and along the southeast, up along the east coast here. There's your freeze line kind of well to the north here. But going into next week, as we get into Wednesday, especially into Thursday, here's the overall jet stream. So we're going to have an active subtropical jet that's really going to be active out here off the west coast into the Pacific. That's going to kind of set a boundary. We're going to have the southeast ridge really building in from the south. We've got cold air pressing from the north. That's going to create some mid-level forcing underneath it, and with that forcing could stall out some fronts and set up some very heavy rain amounts going through these regions as we get into Wednesday and really taking through the rest of the week. So here's the setup on the overall precipitation. You can definitely see that boundary where we got the warmer, moist air, coming in from the south. We've got that colder air mass coming in from the north, and right along this boundary where we see these darker yellows here, that's where we could be setting the stage for some very heavy rainfall starting in on Wednesday. And I think it just stalls out really for the rest of the week. So right along North Texas into Oklahoma, get it into the Arkansas area, especially into Tennessee, going through Kentucky here, we could be looking at some very heavy rainfall heading into Friday. Kind of the same deal. We've got a steady stream of moisture coming in off that subtropical jet, going to be overrunning these areas. South winds pulling in that warm air. Warm air rises, going to cause that air to overturn, and then we could be looking at the very heavy rain really setting up along these boundaries. And as it lays the groundwork, these areas definitely need some beneficial rains in the form of, they're still in a drought up here in North Texas, and at least the immediate area, they're actually drying out. I mean, they're actually very out of the drought now, because they just basically had their 7th wettest November of all time up here into the DFW Metroplex, finishing off November. So they'll be adding to these totals, and this will actually help fill up the lakes down there. But here's the setup going over the next 7 days. So we're going to have some very heavy snow for the Sierra Nevadas. I mean heavy, we're talking feet, multiple feet of snow in the Sierra Nevadas. More heavy snow back into Washington and Oregon, getting into portions of Montana here through the Rockies. But here's the setup as far as the heavier rains on Wednesday and Thursday. This would be the 7th and the 8th time frame, setting up over North Texas, East Texas, into Oklahoma, into Arkansas, northern portions of Mississippi and Alabama, getting into Georgia here, but especially into Tennessee, heading into Kentucky. There's also going to be another boundary up here, some very heavy rain, going to be up here into portions of the New England, getting up off the east coast of Maine, back into Vermont and New Hampshire, into Massachusetts and Connecticut areas. But going beyond that, this jet stream just only buckles and amplifies even more. So it's going to shift slightly. So as it shifts, it'll shift the rain shield along with it. So you've got the southwest winds pulling in from the south. You got the northwest winds going from the north. So there's that forcing underneath, and that's going to create more heavy rain. So by the time we get into the 9th of the month through the 13th, the heavier rains should really start to set up along in portions of Arkansas, getting into northern portions of Mississippi, Alabama, back into Georgia, into the Carolinas. The bullseye is going to be Tennessee again, over Kentucky, through Virginia, and that's going to pull up the coast and along the coastal regions up here into Pennsylvania, upstate New York, back into New York, into Massachusetts and Connecticut, Rhode Island areas, back into Vermont and New Hampshire, just kind of along these coastal areas. That's going to set the stage for snow lovers. we got another system that's going to be coming across by the time we get into maybe next weekend. We've got that dominating ridge that's really going to be building over Greenland. That's going to create that high latitude blocking, creates the cross polar flow. And this is our first probably maybe significant storm season so far we've seen. With this trough, it's going to be able to slow down and help amplify this trough. And there's definitely signs we could be looking at maybe some heavier snows going to be forming along the East Coast as we get into next weekend. So even the Climate Prediction Center has already kind of highlighted this area of to be on the lookout for some very heavy snow through the 9th through the 13th time frame. We're right here into portions of West Virginia, back into Pennsylvania, back into portions of this region right here in this purple shaded area. So we'll be fine tuning this, but you know, there are multiple signals here that this could be our first, you know, fairly significant snows up here to portions of the Northeast. Beyond that, look at the feet of snow that's happened in the Sierras. If you recall what happened last December, right? Last December, the Sierras ended up with 18 feet of heavy snow last December. So this is kind of knocking right on the doorstep with another 100+ inches maybe coming your way. We could be looking at 7, 8, maybe 9 feet of snow just over the next 7 to 10 days in some of these mountain regions up in the Sierra Nevada. So they're going to be measuring this stuff in feet with all the precipitation coming into California. So this is definitely beneficial for not in the rain aspect, but all this is going to be melting eventually. And that's going to help, you know, with some of the drought as you what you saw, what took place last December. So that's definitely coming for a good chunk of California, but especially into the Sierra Nevadas. And then very heavy snows as well into portions of Utah, back into Colorado. We could be looking at some across the western slopes, picking up some feet of snow as well. So there's definitely some healthy totals for the mountain regions and all the ski lovers out there. If we broaden the picture, now through next Friday, it's got all the Intermountain snows heading into the Intermountain West with all those, you know, several inches and definitely feet of snow that's going to be building and coming across. And then we got this, you know, snow, kind of a snow swath going to be building into portions of the Dakotas as well. And then all the snow building up here into Canada. So we'll see next weekend if this snowstorm is going to be coming into fruition as we get into between the 9th and the 13th of the month. But beyond that, here's your rain. So what's very concerning, we've got all that precipitation coming in off the West Coast with healthy rains coming in from, you know, into California, across the Intermountain West. But look at the steady stream of moisture, you know, with the active subtropical jet that's really going to be building in throughout the week. And where that forcing takes place, where that mid-level forcing takes place, we could be looking at some very heavy rain setting up from Wednesday, could be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We could be 4 or 5 days there as this boundary kind of stalls out over portions of Texas, Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas, portions of Missouri, back into southern Illinois, into Indiana, but we're especially into Kentucky and Tennessee. I think that's where they kind of had the bullseye with multiple inches, if not 6 to 8 inches of rain just over the next 7 days. And that should push into the Ohio Valley as well, with another possibly 2, 3, 4 inches just in Ohio alone. And that pulls up into the mid-Atlantic and heads up into portions of the Northeast as well. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely leave your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.